Okay, great. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen's meeting for December 1st, 2020. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes, there are 5 selectmen present, as well as Town Administrator, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. I will have Derek lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's see, next up, announcements, Alan.
Okay, let's see. OBA is going to have 2 events in December. One of the events is they're going to be building a Christmas tree at the Onset Pier made out of lobster and fish traps. I've seen a picture of it. It'll be quite interesting to see. It should be a nice little sight for people. Hopefully it'll bring a little cheer to the area. The other thing is they're going to do like a car parade for Xmas. Get a hold of the OBA website for full details, but the parade will be just driving in and out of the pier. It will be on December 13th with a rain date of December 20th. And I think that's all we got. Oh yeah, also for some people who want to listen to the school budget hearings that we have, it's December 3rd, 7 p.m. It's available on Zoom as well.
Okie doke. Patrick?
Yeah, no, this is a long meeting. I think we can be quiet.
Okay. Jim?
I agree with Patrick. How's that?
Excellent. Judy?
Sorry. I have lots of announcements tonight, actually. First of all, the food resources and way to show support in this community. Family Pantry at Damien's Place. You can get a carriage of food, about 9 bags total, is available for any family in the area who needs it every Thursday and Saturday from 9 to 11:30 a.m. People must fill out a simple application and provide a gas or electric bill as proof of address so the pantry can avoid providing food to the same household twice. Those interested in supporting the pantry are asked to make monetary donations rather than donations of food in the interest of limiting contact. Checks can be mailed to Post Office Box 730, East Wareham. The YMCA Community Markets. Food is available for drive-through pickup twice a month at the Gleason Family YMCA. Individuals will be asked for their zip code and for some demographic information about the members of their household. Upcoming markets will start at 11 a.m. on December 11th and December 21st, and they end once the food has all been distributed. The Church of the Good Shepherd on the first Tuesday of every month from 3 to 5 has a food pantry. That was today. The church offers families pre-assembled packages of food. Every Thursday, the church also offers takeout meals between 3:30 and 4:30. People can support the church efforts by making monetary donations. St. Vincent de Paul Food Pantry. The pantry at St. Patrick's Church on High Street is open from 3 to 7 on Wednesdays. People are asked to wear masks and maintain social distancing. The Onset Foursquare Church across from Lokes Field offers pickup dinners 5:30s on Wednesdays. Wesley United Methodist Church, 462 Main Street, 5:30 dinner on Wednesdays. They also have a thrift shop. The Council on Aging has Meals on Wheels available for seniors age 60 or individuals with disabilities. Meals are delivered 5 days a week to anyone who is qualified and signs up. Starting December 1st, today, seniors age 60 can also participate in free boxed lunch pickups on Tuesdays and Thursdays through Old Colony Elder Services. Those interested must call 508-291-3130 the week before the request so that their meals will be available to them at the handicapped entrance to the multi-service center between 9 and 9:30 a.m. Wareham Public Schools. The school district distributes free breakfasts and lunch for any child in Wareham 18 years old or younger, regardless of whether or not they are students at Wareham schools. Children do not have to be present when the meals are picked up, and meals are for all 7 days of the week are available. Distribution sites and times are Wareham Middle School, 9:30 to 10:30. Deacon's Elementary, 10:30 to 12. Shangri-La Playground, 10:30 to 12. Woods at Wareham, 10:30 to 12. Onset Bandshell, 10:30 to 12. For giving opportunities, the Wareham bus drivers are holding a Stuff a Bus event at the Main Street Fire Station December 5th from 9 to 3. The items to be collected will benefit Turning Point. Please donate unwrapped new toys or clothing, gift cards, and non-perishable food. The Wareham Police Department, in conjunction with the Department of Natural Resources, are holding their annual Stuff a Cruiser event outside of Walmart and Target on Saturday as well. Please donate new toys unwrapped. The Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which is presented by the Friends of the Wareham Free Library, are still offering this great program for children. For $25, you can sponsor a child for 1 year to receive one free book every month. To sign up for the program, if you have children under the age of 5, applications are available at the town clerk's office, at the Onset Bay Association office, and the main Wareham Free Library. Spinney Library will be open for pickup of books on Tuesdays from 1 to 7:30? Yeah. And the main library is available to the public for browsing or use of computers. You must call ahead to reserve a time, and you may continue to contact the library, choose your book or books, and have curbside pickup. For more information, please call the main library at 295-2343 or email gripley@salesinc.com. All of the events and things that I've mentioned require social distancing as well as masks. And just one last thing I would say to all of you, it is hunting season. Please, when you are walking in the woods to get away from everything that we need to get away from, wear orange. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Citizens' comments. I know of at least one relating to the garden club.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, please. Just, no, please promote the Wareham Garden Club by attending our Christmas fair on Saturday between 9 and 12 at St. Patrick's parking lot next to the hall. A lot of greens and boxwoods and wreaths and things like that. It's nice to have fresh greens. So please come and support. It's all outside and we're looking for good weather. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else, I'm seeing a name or two out there that I'm not familiar with. If you wish to speak during citizens' comments, just indicate on the chat function. Just tap the chat thing and just type in your message and say you'd like to speak. And I'll give it a 30 seconds or so.
David. Rich. It's David. Right here. He put his hand up. Ask to unmute.
Okay, seeing no one, I will go to board comments. Alan.
David has his hand up.
Oh, David does have his hand up. I couldn't see. Okay, David, if you'll identify yourself and tell us what's on your mind.
No, don't, you just muted. Unmute. Unmute.
Good. Can you hear me?
Show his
Yeah.
picture.
Oh, David, go ahead.
I'm calling in to speak of the Littleton Drive. My name's David Meister. I live at 8 Myers Court, Wareham. I reviewed springtime and reviewed the minutes of the meeting from the Wareham Redevelopment Authority. And I found out what's going in by Wareham Week. And how I see it is 94 bedrooms are going in for a 40B affordable housing. Well, that's the first article, I'm sorry. 86 are going in for the senior affordable, for affordable housing, and 44 bedrooms are going in for senior affordable housing. I don't see how that accomplishes what the goal was set in the town meeting. Furthermore, with the 40B, my understanding is it doesn't go to Wareham residents. It goes to the Commonwealth of Mass residents. And as far as the senior part of that equation, I don't know if that goes to the Wareham residents or if it's opened up to all of Massachusetts. I don't see what we're trying to accomplish by making this mostly a 40B and then a portion of it being senior affordable housing. The goal of our town and goal of everybody is senior affordable housing. We're not getting that out of this project. About 1/3 of the bedrooms are going to be senior affordable housing. That was not the goal of this property. That was not the goal when they put it over into the redevelopment authority. Mr. Muniz spoke at the meeting about putting restrictions on it and making it only 55 or older or 60 or older. I'm not sure what his restrictions were for an amendment. It wasn't brought up to vote. It was stated by Mr. Titlebaum that you can look at the minutes of the meeting. This property has always been designated for senior affordable housing. I lobbied my neighbors to approve this transfer over to redevelopment authority for senior affordable housing because I thought it was a great idea. And they said, oh, it'll be affordable housing. I said, no, we are assured. Mr. Titlebaum said, our heads will roll, quote, our heads will roll if we do not get senior affordable housing in there. And my opinion is this does not qualify, and it's not going to get the list down for Wareham, and it's not going to do what we need. I heard you also say it's not politically feasible to put it there, and here it is. It just looks like a bait and switch.
Okay, we allow 2 minutes, and I've let you go beyond that. That's fine. We're not going to respond directly to what you said. I would suggest that you watch the presentation because that will answer some of the questions, and I think also perhaps correct some of the misapprehensions you might have about the project. So I would ask you to sit and wait and listen to that. Also, for anybody watching, this is just a presentation to us. We don't approve anything here tonight. This is simply a presentation, and if the board wants, it can send a letter to the Department of Housing and Community Development in support of the project, if the board will vote for that.
That is why I called in, because I know that you recommend that you want the letter from the board. I'm asking you, the board, not to send a letter. I realize I'm talking to the redevelopment authority as I speak, but it is what it is. But this is how the project was laid out. It does not accomplish our goals.
Okay, well, thank you for your input. Let me see. I'm going to look at the screen. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? If so, send me a message on the group chat. I don't see anybody. Nope. Okay, I'll go forward with board comments. Alan.
Real short and quick. We're doing liquor licenses tonight. We on our warrant originally had the basically banning of nips, and I made the comment before that this was just a stopgap measure. The only way really this will be successful around our area completely is if the liquor stores get together as a group and lobby the State House to put a deposit on nips. This will be the best solution possible for everybody. And I'd just like to ask them to step up and do what really is right for the town and for the whole region. Thank you.
Okay. Patrick.
He's muted.
Can't hear you, Patrick. Your mic's off.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't have much to say. I agree with Alan, though. The way this thing should be resolved is with the bottle bill. That's the only real way we have to resolve it. And I would hope that the liquor stores would step up as well.
Okay. Jim.
I'll pass.
Judy.
I'm all set.
Yep, I don't have anything either. We don't have any appointments, reappointments, or interviews, so we'll go down to the licenses and permits. Judy.
Do you want to do those or do you want to do the presentation first?
Yeah, why don't we do the presentation, because I don't think
Good idea.
yeah, we'll get going on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, I would turn it over to Ken Buckland, and I would have, let's see, I think presentation needs to be unmuted. Francis Goyas needs to be unmuted. Let's see, who else do we have up here I need to unmute? Let me see, Jonathan, correct?
Present.
Okay. Ken, why don't you start? You need, Ken.
I asked him to.
Ken, microphone.
Ask him to unmute, but his mic is still muted.
Ken, you have to unmute. There you go.
I just did. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for correcting me on that one. This is kind of exciting because this is a culmination of a long time coming, and what we've been doing to try to get a productive use of the Littleton Drive property that the town has owned since the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. We have gone through a process for selecting a developer, looked at a couple of different proposals and 3 different proposals, and decided that Penrose was the one to proceed with the process. And this is going to be a process that's going to take some time as we go through the permitting to advance the project and get it started through the state low-income housing tax credit program. It wouldn't have been possible to do this without the help of Mass Housing, and they've been walking us through the process and giving us support as we proceed with the selection and the proceeding on the permitting for the affordable housing project. What I'd like to do now is to turn it over to Francis Goyce from Mass Housing, who has been walking us through and making sure we didn't fall down and skin our knees on the way of through the process of selecting a developer to proceed with the project. So I'll turn it over to Francis at this point.
Thank you, Ken. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, awesome, excellent. Thank you all so much. Thank you for having me here, even if it's at a distance. So like Ken just said, we at Mass Housing have been working with the WRA for about a year now as part of our municipal lots pilot, a new initiative in which we partner with interested and willing communities in order to redevelop land that could be suitable for housing. Since the beginning, the town stated their priority, which included senior housing, as well as opportunities for residents of Wareham. We kept those priorities in mind, and with the WRA developed a request for proposals for the redevelopment of this piece of land. As Mass Housing, we help disseminate the RFP through our network of affordable housing developers. We are the Affordable Housing Finance Bank of the state. And as such, know most affordable housing developers in the Commonwealth, especially those that have long histories developing affordable housing. We shared the RFP throughout our networks, and through this tried to ensure that we had developers that had affordable housing experience and that had prior history of working closely with municipalities to apply for this. We did this especially because we know that while there are many good developers, there are also developers that perhaps don't keep town's main interest or a community's main interest at heart when developing, and we wanted to make sure that this was a good partnership. So we played, if you will, the matchmaker, if you will. Now the town received 3 different proposals following their request, one of which was Penrose. One of the main reasons why Penrose was selected was that they were the only developers that had senior housing as part of their proposal. Notwithstanding this being so important to the town and seeing that there were no other developers that had this, which also goes to show how difficult it is. When developers respond to proposals like this, they're looking at the options they have for financing, they're looking at how suitable the area is for development, and this is how they create their proposals. So we saw that there might have been not too much interest for senior development, but there was that possibility. So following the town's interest in working with Penrose, we then embarked on a few months long journey to try to find the best number of housing units and the best number of affordable housing units that could be able to bring more affordability into the town while maintaining financial feasibility for the developer. Now, one of the reasons why senior housing is difficult to finance is, first of all, there's just not a lot of subsidies available at the state level. Unfortunately, affordable housing just hasn't been financed at the level that it should have for decades. This in part has led to the affordable housing crisis that we see across the Commonwealth and basically the nation at large. So the state, in order to make do with what little money they have to subsidize, they create a list of priorities that they subsidize. So one of the main priorities that they look at is family housing. So if you are, especially if you're a community that is under the 10% of the subsidized housing inventory, as Wareham is, but won't be for long, they especially want family housing prior to committing funds for senior housing. Now, this is, like I said, this is priority from the state level, so it's hard to sort of wrestle against, but it's also, they see that without restricting affordability, it also creates more options. So even though it's not restricted for seniors, there are seniors that live in many non-age restricted affordable housing units. In fact, that's one of the main demographics that make up affordable housing units are folks that are 60 years or older. So it's tricky because it's, in part bureaucratic, in part lack of funding, but these are some of the reasons why we couldn't get to just a completely 100% senior affordable housing building at this time. Now we've talked about potential opportunities later on, perhaps closer to town center for something that would be more better suited for senior housing. But with this compromise, the Penrose, the developer, and the town were able to secure both senior housing, that was the main priority again for the town, as well as non-restricted senior housing, which again is still a priority for the town because there is a very long list in the public housing system in Wareham for non-restricted senior family housing. So again, from the point of view of both the state and the financials and the need in town, we thought this proposal really was able to provide a little bit for everyone. And now I've talked way beyond what I thought I would. So I'll turn it over to whoever is speaking next.
Okay, is that Charlie?
Yes, I can pick it up from here.
Go ahead, please.
And would you be able to unmute Ryan and Jennifer Hayward for me as well? They're going to be helping out with the presentation, if that's possible.
Yes.
Jennifer joined us.
You just muted her. Unmute.
Okay, Charlie, you need to,
Yes.
all of you need to identify yourself for the record.
Yep.
Thank you.
Will do. Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
ask for start video.
Okay, great. There's Jennifer. So my name is Charlie Adams. I'm from Penrose, and with me is Ryan Kirikoff and Jennifer Hayward, also of Penrose. Ryan works with me here in the Boston office, and Jennifer runs our transition management. She's on our management side, and she does our transition management. She's actually based in Philly. She's able to join us as well. So thank you again very much for having us. We really appreciate it. We've gotten a chance to share some of this information with some of you, but not with all of you. We spent a lot of time over the last several months working directly with Ken and Peter and Judith, Derek, and other members of the WRA on trying to advance this proposal. We're very excited about what we're being able to put together. We think you're going to be pretty excited about it too. We think it's a really great plan that we've put together, a development concept that'll really make Wareham proud. So we want to go through that with you. We actually, I think, as I think you have already seen, there is a presentation. I was hoping we could, I could ask Ryan to put it up on the screen and we could run through it if that works for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I need to be granted permission to share the screen.
1 second.
Okay.
No.
While you're doing that, I'm going to add to the minutes that Mr. Bowen joined the meeting at 7:08.
Well, while we're putting the presentation up, I can get started a little bit and tell you a little bit about who we are, a little bit more detail. As I introduced, we're Penrose. We are a owner, manager, developer of multifamily housing. We'll do everything from 100% market to 100% affordable and everything in between. As a company, we are in about 20 states in the District of Columbia at this point. We keep growing, which is exciting. We've been doing this for about 40 years, if I didn't mention that. And then we also have an affiliated management company, Penrose Management Company, of which Jennifer's here representing. Our specific area is in the New England area. Our office covers Massachusetts and Connecticut, and I have a staff of 3 people with me here in Boston, Ryan and 2 others. And we run the operations out of this office.
I think we need to do it beforehand. We're having a problem with the setting. Hang on.
No worries.
Right.
Anyone know a clean joke?
Jennifer might have some dogs in the background. If you unmuted yourself, we could hear some dogs barking. Is that right, Jen?
I just brought mine in. She was barking.
Thankfully, so we only have one at this point, and so far, no noise.
I'm also admiring Francis's background. I haven't seen that before.
I know we got quite professional with our backgrounds over here.
I'm impressed. We got up our game. We got up our game, Ryan.
Says disabled. Did that fix it?
Hey, there we go.
There we go. We see screen sharing, so that's a start.
Yeah, he should be able to do it now. If you can't, I can do it back up on my computer.
Oh, perfect. I can see.
There we go.
You're seeing it? All right, great.
All right, great. Super. All right.
Take it
Here's our
away.
presentation. There we go. All right, next slide, please. All right, so quickly, a little bit about our agenda today. We're going to talk about our site, how we got here, some changes we made to the development concept in response to feedback from stakeholders, and then sort of next steps. Next slide, please. Yeah, so one thing I want to say, so, I've already talked about Penrose. The other players that you see here on the team, this is the same team that we've worked with in other locations, and in particular, our deal that we did in Eastham, the village at Nauset Green. We borrowed a lot of the concepts from that development here because we we thought that in talking with folks, we were putting together RFP, a lot of the things that folks are interested in seeing out there were the similar kinds of concepts here. And we can talk a little bit about that as well. Crowley Cottrell was not on the Village of Nauset Green deal. They've done with us in other places, but we brought them on specifically as a landscape architect. We really wanted to focus a little bit more on the landscape piece here. And it was important to bring a landscape architect on to help with that. Next slide. Okay, so as Francis and Ken had said, you guys have been working on this a lot longer than we have. This actually did start at the beginning of the year with an RFP issued. One thing I would just like to say as an aside, I was just very impressed by how, I mean, it's, obviously the date was January and things, all went kind of south, around February, March. And so I was very impressed with how you guys as a town continued to conduct business and move forward. And we actually were selected through a Zoom interview, which is the first time that's ever happened. But kudos to you guys for keeping going in this environment. So very impressive. As noted here, we were selected after our March submission. Next slide. And sort of things that we've done to date. So we've been working, we signed the LDA. We've gone through some preliminary site plans and designs from the original RFP based on the input from others. We've completed a survey, we're doing some environmental work. We've actually applied for the zoning board to get the entitlements and permits for the project. And we were here, very great news that we were selected. We submitted a pre-application and now have been notified that we are eligible to submit an application for tax credits for all 93 units. Next slide, please. Okay, so you all know the site better than we do, but just to orient everyone, that's where the site is. It's a very, very large site. It's a beautiful site, wooded. It's got, from the 70s, you can see those existing roads were laid in as dirt roads, and so it makes for nice walking trails throughout. We've tried to, as you see in our design, we've tried to maintain some of those trails going forward for residents that have used them over the years and can continue to use them even after the development is done. We like the location of the site. Can you go back to the slide for the other side? Yeah, we really like the location of the site next to Swift's Beach Road as it leads out to Route 6 where the Dunkin' Donuts and the Shaws are. And one of the things we'll get into a little bit further down is looking to add a bus stop for not just for the folks that live here, but for the entire neighborhood there, another bus stop on Swift's Beach Road, which would lead folks out to Route 6 and down to the Shaws, and we'll talk about that. Next slide. Just zeroing in a little bit, one of the things that you'll see as we show you these plans is that, it is a really big site. We could have put 3 times as many units on the site as we were planning. But we don't want to do that. We don't think it's appropriate for the site. We don't think it's appropriate, the density for the community of Wareham. And we really wanted to try to maintain as much of the site as a wooded area as possible for the benefit of everyone, including the community that can still use it, as I said, through the walking trails. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we originally submitted the application, we were talking about doing 92 units. 54 what we call the non-age restricted, and then 38 in a standalone senior building. Working with the WRA over the process after you're submitted, there really was a desire, as you guys have obviously heard, to try to do more senior units. So what we were able to do in talking with the state and getting them comfortable, even within the constraints that that Francis laid out, was that they would be a little bit more comfortable if we switched a few of the non-age restricted units to the senior units. So we were able to, as you'll see on the site plan, we'll take away one of the small modules that had 5 units for non-elderly and add a bank of units to the senior building to add 6 there. So now we're up to 44 senior units out of the 93. Next slide. So a little bit about how this breaks down. There are 44 one-bedrooms. The seniors are all one-bedrooms, and you can see how the bedrooms break down for the non-age restricted. This is, again, consistent with what Francis was saying about the priorities and requirements of the state. I will note, though, when you add the number of one-bedroom units together, you get about 70% of the units will be one-bedrooms, and we'll talk about the importance of that to the elderly population. The income mix in the senior building, we're going to keep all of the units affordable to folks below 60% of area median income, which is the limit that's set by the low-income housing tax credit program. In the non-age restricted units, the bulk will be available for that population under 60%. You cap out the amount of credits you can get on a deal. And so with these, what we were able to do there was to squeeze in what we call workforce units to serve a population that is not typically served in developments. It's sort of the forgotten group between market and affordable. And this is a program that we use very successfully in Eastham with the Village at Nauset Green. And it's a program that Mass Housing actually provides, and they provide $100,000 per unit for each of those workforce units to serve that missing population. So we're really excited to add that element to this development. As you can see, well, in terms of the numbers, you'll actually see on the site plan, we've really tried to keep as much of the space open as possible as a development guiding principle. There was a question earlier about priority for Wareham residents. Bear in mind that because you're using state and federal resources, you have to follow fair housing regulations. There's no two ways about that. That is a requirement. But what we can do and what the state has allowed is to ask for, and in the past they've generally accepted, we were able to do this in Eastham, a local priority for Wareham residents during the first year of up to 70%. So that's a really good tool to help serve the residents of Wareham specifically. And not to get too much in the weeds, but when it comes to the lease up, we actually will do a lottery. And so Wareham residents would get a preference then at that lottery. So it doesn't have to, it's not first come, first serve. We'll have the lottery open for a certain period of time, and anybody that's a Wareham resident or works or goes to school in Wareham, gets put in that larger box of the priority for residents there in the first year residency. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is basically the site plan. So if you look to the top of the page, that's the little street that comes off of Swift Beach Road. For those of you that know the site now, it's teed there, so you can go to the left or the right. In fact, you'll still be able to go to the left, but you won't actually enter the site. What we've tried to do is to create, more, modified access in and out of the site is just one entry point in and out of the site. And so we decided to come along on this side to create a nice, great view as you enter into the site. And as you come down this main road, you'll enter into the wooded site. On your left-hand side, you'll see is the senior building, which will be greeted. But more importantly, when you're coming down the road, your first view of site will be the clubhouse, which is going to sit right in the middle of we call the town green, which is this green garden here that you'll see behind it. On the other side, you'll actually see that it's green. And that's, we'll get a little bit more into that, but that's where the management office is and some community activities. It's available for everybody on the site, the seniors as well as the non-age restricted units. Next slide. So, so this is a little bit prettier drawing. This obviously is a rendering of the site. And so if you look sort of to the top of the page to your left, that's the long windy road underneath the word development concept that comes in and puts you right smack looking at that clubhouse in the center. Across the street is the 44 unit senior building. It's 3 stories. As you can, what we've tried to do is not have it just be one big monolithic box. We've tried to break it up, the facade, by both horizontally and vertically by stepping it front and back, varying the roof lines, changing the colors, so to really make it look and feel not like a big massive box building. And then around the site, we'll get into our little town, cottage style units, townhomes, to really give a sense of feel that these are homes rather than large apartment buildings. And you can see the clubhouse in the center. That's the back of the clubhouse. So we'll have an outdoor deck and patio there, which will lead into this larger common green area, and sort of hidden behind the trees down on your left is a playground that we would put in. Next slide. So this is a view now coming down to the site. You're looking straight on to the clubhouse, and off to the left is the senior building. We'll have concrete sidewalks throughout. One thing I didn't mention, we could look on the drawing, but we do have, one of our plans is to try to get concrete sidewalks all the way out, actually off the site. We put aside about $150,000 out of the budget to work with the town to try to do a sidewalk that would connect all the way up to Swift Beach Road to lead up there. And then the bus stop will be across the street on Swift Beach Road. Next slide. Another view of the clubhouse. That's the entrance there. The management office is there. There's a fitness room. We'll show you a site plan. Next slide. A floor plan. Again, this is the back, a little bit more view. It's you can't really tell there, but there's a door off the back where people would, there'll be a community room behind that section, and then it would lead out to an outdoor patio where people could congregate. Immediately behind there is basically a retention area that will be landscaped with sort of natural wildlife and natural flowers. It's part of our stormwater maintenance system. Next slide. Just another view of the clubhouse, senior building off in the foreground. Next slide. We have lots of images here, so I won't dally too much. But this gives you a little bit closer up view. This gives you a little bit more of a sense of how we've tried to vary the materials and siding and colors and texture of the building to really make it look aesthetically attractive. Next slide. So this is a little bit more close-up view of these little townhomes that we have around. One of the, so there are 10 of these scattered around the, clustered around the green, the village green. Each of these buildings will have 4 to 5 units. Every single resident that lives here will have their own individual entry. So that's really important to us. So some of these units are ground floor units. So you would enter directly onto the ground floor. You have a 1-bedroom unit perhaps, or a 2, in some cases a 2 or 3 bedroom if it's an accessible unit as well on the ground floor. And then in some cases you would immediately enter a door and go immediately up a set of stairs to the 2nd floor where you'd have, could be a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom as well. Next slide. Another sort of rendering gives you a different aerial view of the site. There's the playground you see in a little bit better context. We'll have some walking trails throughout. Those have been a great amenity over at the Village in Austin Green, where we have 2 town greens like this. Next slide. Sort of just more detail about what the elevations would look like. Again, it's 3 stories. Sometimes we go 4 stories. We didn't think it was appropriate to do 4 stories here. 3 stories made more sense for the context in the neighborhood. Next slide. And here's a little bit of our floor plan. So these are still works in progress, and we've already gotten some feedback from some folks that isn't quite reflected here. We're working on them, and they'll be fully integrated into the zoning application that we're making. But to give you a little sense, this is the senior building. You would enter at the bottom, vestibule. There'd be a mail kiosk there against the wall. Everybody likes to congregate where the mail is. So a nice open area for sitting and lobbying. We're putting a little office in there for social services. Typically, we would put a whole management office in there, but we're building the clubhouse across the street, and that's where the management office will go. One of the things you'll notice here is we have 2 elevators. We always like to do 2 elevators in senior buildings for, as you can imagine, for safety. If one's down, there's still one that's accessible. And we also will put one of the elevators on a generator. So in the event that the power is out, one of the elevators will still work and allow residents to go from floor to floor. You can see on the back, we'll have a small community room. There'll be a larger one across in the clubhouse, but we did want to put one in here for the senior residents that would want to stay here and not wander over across the street. And they'll be more likely to go here. The one across the street will be more for events and community gatherings and things like that. Some of the things that we don't have in here that we'll add in, bathrooms in the lobby here. Our architect just didn't draw those in. I think we do have the trash in here now. There'll be trash room on every floor so that folks don't have to wander down the elevator to dump their trash. And we did put sort of the maintenance storage components on the back corner of the building, sort of out of sight, out of mind. Next slide. Then you venture up to the, we put the 2nd and 3rd floors basically here together. They're the same. As you can see, it's all 1-bedroom units, and you can see how they're nicely staggered. They don't all line up, and to give it a nice sort of aesthetic feel. We will have laundry rooms on each of the floors for the residents, so no residents will have to go down a floor to do their laundry. Next slide. Okay, so these are the elevations of the townhomes. You can see a couple of the elements I talked about. You can see lots of doors on the bottom. So those are, like I said, everybody has their own individual entrance. On the ground floors, there will be 0 entrance no steps to make sure that as many units are accessible as can be and visitable. It's really important so that all these units can be visitable on the ground floor. Next slide. So these are a little bit, I don't know how much you can see here, but these are some of the floor plans. If you look down sort of the bottom right, that's the first floor. I don't know, they should have put the first floor at the top, but that's okay. First floor is on the bottom, second floor is on the top. You can sort of get a sense here that on the floor plan on the right, the 1-bedroom flats are on the ends. And then in the middle, there's a 2-bedroom unit directly in the middle. And then there's stairs on either side of that 2-bedroom, which would lead you up to the second floor where there are 2 bedrooms on the second floor. Next slide. So this is the clubhouse. Again, this is still a work in progress. You can see that there's a community room, fitness room, lobby. We do have some bathrooms in here, the reception area, and then our office space where we'll have a manager. We'll have a full-time manager for the site. They will have a conference room where they can meet with individual residents. The community room would be more the place where the community would meet, where the residents would meet and the community at large. But the conference room would really be for meeting with individual residents. And then of course we have, the workspace that we need with files and things like that. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to shrink that fitness center area. It's too big. The reception area will shrink a little bit, and we're going to make the community room a little bit larger. Those are some of the moves that we're going to make. Next slide. Okay, so these are the elements of the program, like the things we talked about, the clubhouse, which we're really excited about. We have the community room in the senior building, walking trails throughout. One thing we didn't mention was the community garden. It's actually down in the right, just off to the right in this slide at the end of one of these little buildings that we located it'll actually be near the senior building. So it'll be very accessible to the senior building. And we will make some of them handicap accessible as well. And then the sidewalks and improvements that we've talked about. We've had some initial conversations with the transit authority about putting a bus stop directly across the street on Swifts Beach Road. We've actually already talked to the owner there. They seem to be some interest in doing that, and we would do that on our dime. Put a bus stop there that would be amenity not just for these residents but for the whole neighborhood, since there's no bus stop there now. Next slide. And then Penrose Management Company. I don't know, Jenny, do you want to say a few words about the management company? Did we lose Jenny? We may have lost her to the dogs. Nope, Jenny, are you there? Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties with unmuting. Couldn't see it in the bottom. So Penrose, the management company with Penrose has been in existence for now over 40 years. And we do both affordable and market rate housing, but definitely mixed income. And what this ends up doing is creating just a really nice, diverse community with doing the mixed income. And we currently have over 140 projects or properties and over 10,000 units. And we actually are now even, the management company is now even in more states than 8. I think we can update our slide, but we're pretty much mid-Atlantic, and Charlie's taking us really far into the Northeast, including Rhode Island. So we're really excited about all the work that they're doing and helping the management company grow. And just a little bit about what I do. I work with the development folks at the very beginning so that we're integrated as a management company from the very beginning. So that's everything from design to things like Charlie mentioned about that fitness center or, and whatnot, to make sure that the building really ends up being what we think is the best for stabilized operations to be most successful.
Great. And just to add in terms of the benefit is, to have an owner and the management company together, cannot be underestimated. It's very important to the process. As Jenny said, they're fully integrated into our planning and design from day one. So we're building it in a way that it can be managed. In terms of the staffing that Jenny will put together for this, she'll have a full-time manager and we'll have a full-time maintenance person. With that number of units, we can justify the expense of that, and that's what we'd want to do and want to have. And one thing, not to get too much into the weeds, but one thing that's sort of different or about this is, well, one thing I should have said up front is, we're not a build it and flip it company. We're a buy and hold. And particularly when you're using low-income housing tax credits, that's particularly important. One of the things with the low-income housing tax credit program is that the benefit that the investor gets provided to them over 15 years. And so it's as important on day one, in year one, as it is in day one of year 15 of what the property looks like and how it's managed. Because throughout that entire period of time, we're on the hook for the benefits that are flowing to the investor. And so it's critically important that that we manage it correctly, manage it well, and manage it in a way that's a value to everyone. Next slide. So sort of next steps, we're reaching out to some of the abutters. We're going to have some public meetings through the ZBA. We're going to be reaching out to the Community Preservation Committee for some financial support. We've already talked with the YMCA about doing some programming there. We need to rekindle those conversations. They could do some programming through the clubhouse or the garden, the park. There's a bunch of programs. We've also talked with folks at the senior center, as well as the library and some other key groups and stakeholders to integrate some services and programs into the development. As I mentioned, we're going before the Zoning Board of Appeals in December, and we're moving forward on submitting an application for funding in January. Next slide. So that's it. And we're love to field any of your questions.
Yeah, once we get the screen back to, well, that was quick, back to normal, I'll go around the board here. Alan.
I have a few questions. First of all, I see you're going before the ZBA. Have you planned when you're going to go before conservation? There's some issues on the land itself there.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a set date for that, but we haven't scheduled a set date, but we will we'll try to find out and get on the counter, work with Ken to make sure we get that before them as well.
Yeah, my concern is that sometimes projects go before certain boards and they don't go in sequence properly to make it work well. The other piece is on the open space. How much of it is in wetlands?
I don't know what percentage is wetlands. I know that there is wetlands behind the senior building. So I want to say it's a small percentage because it's very confined to one area and it's off to the side of the property. So what we've had to do is just make sure that we're not building within the 50 feet or 100 feet of those wetlands there. And so that's been a focus of our Horsey Whitten, our civil engineer, to make sure we don't do that. I don't believe there's been any other areas identified through our survey as being wet on the site.
Thank you. And the last thing, was mentioned by earlier in the meeting that we had, I went through the town meeting and the actual article gave the control of the property to the Wareham Redevelopment Authority. There was never any discussion as far as the actual vote on town meeting. That was strictly for them to have control to go ahead and do something. It was never listed at all anywhere, except in some of the discussion about, the affordability, complexes, what percentage was what. So I think for some reason, people at town meeting made an assumption that this was all going to be affordable senior housing, but the actual article never stated that at all. So I think there's some confusion there and there's some issues with our town residents about what they thought was coming versus what it actually is. But again, if you look at what was voted on, there was no vote whatsoever as far as the actual makeup of that property as what would happen as far as developer housing. Just want to make that clear as well.
So, yeah, just while you're saying that, it was reminding me of one of the things about the senior piece. One of our experience has been, Eastham, the demographics there were very much for trying to find housing for 55 or elderly, and actually in their case, 55 plus. So one of the things to keep in mind is when you say senior, it's actually 62 plus. So it cuts off anybody that's 55 and over. And one of the things that we found with the residents at Village and Austin Green is that there is a very, very high percentage of folks there that are 55 plus living in those developments. And so if you look at the math and the unit breakdown that we've got here, when you add in the 44 units that are dedicated to folks that are 62 plus, and the 18 bedrooms that are in the non-age restriction, you're going to find a vast majority, and even the 2 bedrooms, a vast majority of the 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms will be, based on the demographics we've seen, will be folks that are in that 55 plus category. So you could see as much as 70% of the units here as being occupied by folks 55 and over.
The last thing I have is just for, people listening in is what's your projection for the number of children of school age that will occupy?
It's always so much smaller than you think.
Well, that's why I'm asking you to give us the number.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think over in Eastham, I think we've got 65 units there. I want to say we have like 18 kids. I mean, it's very small. It's always lower than people think it is.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up. Thank you.
Okay.
And also just to bear in mind, just those 18, remember those 18, span from, a newborn to an 18-year-old. So, I mean, it's you have 18 kids spread over 18 years. So.
Understand.
Yeah.
Thanks. Patrick, questions?
Yeah, no, not really so much. I have always concerns when I see a development that has children, and I hate to sort of be the evil guy, the guy with 8 kids, to be evil about children, because I think children are wonderful things. It's just that the process is very adversarial, the way it's been created by the state, to force us into these kinds of issues, because financially they're the issue. When 3% or so of your budget is spent on schools, every child added to the community is huge. Okay, it's a big deal. And of course, we have a big development coming in that's 150 plus units of basically affordable housing that will have, I'm guessing somewhere in the range of 300 kids or so. And then you add what I figure for this to be about 30 children maxed out. If the worst scenario came, you'd have about 30 kids in here. And I did that by using the state numbers and adding them up and coming up with the 1.2 and figuring it all out. And that's what you come up with, is maybe 30 kids or so. That's okay. I'm willing to give up for that. I'm willing to say okay in this particular instance, because I really need those 44 units of senior housing. And sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And affordable housing for seniors in this town is a huge necessity. Whether anybody knows it or not, it's huge. And so I'm willing to say okay on that basis, because just for that reason. Although, as you well know, I really hate this whole thing that we have to be to look down on children or have them be the issue when it comes to affordable housing. And it's not just us. Every community has the same issue, because it's all about dollars and cents. How many kids are going to come in? You get 300 kids. You know how much that can cost going through the school system? Huge amounts of dollars, obviously. And so it's a problem. And I hate to see it. I really hate to see it. Obviously, I love children. I wouldn't have 8 of them otherwise. And this is just a travesty that this comes up. But in this case, no matter what, I'm perfectly willing to go along with the project, because, for one, I like the design concept.
Great.
I like the way that it's nestled in there. I like the percentage of use of the property, which I really like a lot. I like the idea that it has a clubhouse and it has some green space for play areas and things for people to do. And I like the way that the senior building's laid out as well. So that works for me, and
Great.
I'm okay with it.
Great. Thank you very much. That's great. One other thought about children, we should also keep in mind, whether it's 18, 30, whatever that number is, those are not necessarily new kids to the schools. Let's be clear about that, right?
Well, that's true. That's possible. You're right. It's possible
That's right.
that they could move from Wareham to there or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, in fact,
Somebody else would move in
yeah, I mean, in fact, if you look at our numbers in Eastham, and if you couple that with the 70% preference, right, you're going to have existing families in Wareham that need this type of housing, that are living in substandard housing, that are already in the schools. They're going to move to this community. So if you actually apply that 70% to those numbers, you would say, let's go with the 30 number, 21 of those kids would already be in the school system, right?
Well, Wareham has less than a 1% vacancy rate. So in rental apartments, just so you know.
Okay.
And so that plays into it as well, because if you move them from one to the other, someone's going to move back into that one. It's almost a guarantee because the vacancy rate is so low anyway. So even if you moved them all from Wareham into that, somebody from somewhere else is going to move into those that they vacated. So that's really not a good argument, but that's okay. I'm with you anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we tend to think a lot of people are living in sort of substandard. They're not really living in. Some of the people that move in are living in places that other people would move into.
Well, we have a pretty good board of health. We don't allow too much substandard.
Good.
We inspect all rental units every single year. So
good.
Which is unusual. A lot of communities don't do that, but we do. We go out there and we inspect every single rental unit. Gets inspected once a year by our own people.
That's great.
Okay,
all right,
thank you.
I'm done. I don't want to keep this too long.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Jim. Got your mic on. We need your mic, Jim.
How's that, better?
Much better.
Here we go. I was looking at my paper and not at the screen. Evening, very nice presentation, thank you. Whatever happened on the town meeting floor, we all knew what happened and we were there, so no sense in going there. And as far as the first year of affordability, 70% being given to Wareham residents, is the senior dormitory going to be built in that first year?
The senior building, the freestanding senior building, the 44 units, yes. The plan is for everything to be, our plan right now is for everything to be built as once. And we've gotten approval to submit, we have to finance them separately, but we've gotten approval to submit applications at the same time for both, which is a big victory.
Well, good, as long as you have the funding, the finances to put them up at the same.
Well, we get to apply for it. We haven't gotten them yet, but we've given the green light to apply at the same time.
So if it by chance, you didn't get all the funding at the same time, what happens with the senior portion? What would go in first?
Good question. So that was actually, that's something we spent a lot of time with the WRA on the LDA to make sure you guys got exactly what you wanted. So the way that the plan is laid out is that this entire project will be permitted all at once. And so it'll be memorialized what this development is to be with the senior and the family. Now, if for some reason we had to do the family and not the senior, then that would get built. We'd have a certain period of time to do the senior. And if we couldn't do it, it would revert back to the town and the town would find someone else to do it. So it will all get done. But that's not our plan. We're going to do it all at once.
No, right. Would you be posting a bond or something so we could complete it or no?
I think if you look at the agreement, you have strong enough rights, you'd get it back.
Oh, so we get the land back.
You would get that part of the land back to give to somebody else to do it.
Okay. I like the concept of the townhouses. I wish it could have been like all senior and or 55 and older and having some market rate and some at being subsidized for the seniors. Sometimes it's the quality and not the number that you're getting in there.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, what about parking? Is all the senior parking next to the building, or how much is it next to the building? How much is across the street from the building?
Sure. So let me just go back to you mentioned the market rate. One of the things that when we've looked at the rents it's hard when you talk about these percentages. What's 60% of AMI? What's 110%? We actually when we looked at the numbers, the 110 to 120% of AMI actually kind of equates to what the market is there in terms of what the market rate rents are.
Right.
So we're calling it workforce housing, but it will sort of essentially act as market rate, although it will be restricted, but it'll serve that sort of that in between that population. In terms of the number of spaces, I'm trying to remember how many. Do you recall, Ryan, how many we have? Ryan's going to help me with this one. Ryan's my numbers guy.
It's 44 parking spaces specifically for the senior units, so that's one per unit. And then for the townhome units, it's 75. So the 44 senior units the majority of them are in 2 lots on either side of the senior building. If you consult the site plan, you'll see that they butt up directly on either side.
Right?
I'm sorry?
Pardon me?
Adjacent to the building, though.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we could put, if you look at, we could put up again if that's helpful, but if you look at the site plan, there's 2 lots on either side.
Yeah, I can pull that up.
Okay.
Now, the community room, how big is that? How many square feet in the senior building?
In the senior building, I would say it's probably about 800 square feet,
Is that
be my
the
guess.
size?
And I think it's going to be like closer to 1,000 over across the street in the clubhouse, I think.
Looks like the size of an apartment. What size are those senior apartments, do you know?
Yeah, they average about 665 square feet.
650, 665. Okay, that's
It
just,
actually could be closer to that. It could be, yeah, because if you think about the layout, it probably is closer to that in terms of how they're.
but I mean, and I'm not trying to beat your plan up. It's just, if you have 40, what'd you say, how many units are going to be at 48, 46?
44.
44. And if they have a building function, I guess they'd have to go across the street. It's nice to have washing machines on each floor. They'll enjoy that. It's too bad it's a dormitory type setup or an apartment type setup. But, thanks. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
In terms of the townhomes, every townhome will have its own individual washer and dryer. We'll actually provide those in each of the units.
No, those are great. They look great. I just wish it could have been accommodating for the seniors in that aspect and had it more of a over 55 and senior affordable combination. But that was my vision, and it's just, I wasn't driving the bus here. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks. Judy?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all set. Judy and I, of course, are both members of the Redevelopment Authority, so we've been very familiar with this process for a while now. Okay, do we have anything else for the presenters here? Okay, one of the things that they're doing, of course, is applying to DHCD for funding. I did put us on the agenda, a possible vote for this board to issue a letter of support for the project to the Department of Housing and Community Development. And I would say also to the Zoning Board of Appeals as well. They should be copied on it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patrick to submit a letter, seconded by Judy. Is there any discussion? Alan? You got to put your mic on, Alan.
Late date already. I just want to thank the project, how it's come through. Most of the 40B projects we get are really
terrible.
That's a nice way to put it, Patrick. They're really hard to digest.
Yeah,
really terrible.
They really don't care about the people who live in the places or anything. It's
No,
all
they
based
don't.
on dollars at the end of the day. This looks really good. It's not maximizing the square footage for maximum profits. And I can accept this particular project the way it's laid out. It's acceptable to me.
That's great. One thing I would say, I'm glad you brought that up though. I mean, one thing, 40B is the tool that's being used to get the zoning and the permitting. This is not a 40B development in that sense of the word, as you said, Alan. I mean, this is being done in concert with the town. It's being done as what the town wants and desires. And it's not, we're not using it as a tool to get more units on a site than are really feasible, as you said.
Yeah, we're not being hit with a sledgehammer as usual.
No. Patrick, anything?
Oh, no, I'm all set, guys. I'm ready to vote.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'll do a roll call. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Present.
Okay, Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. So it's 4-0-1 present. And we will, I'll get a letter drafted and send it out to the board to make comments directly to me. If there's something in there you want me to change or whatever, let me know directly. And we'll go from there. I'd like to thank everybody from Penrose for the presentation. I'd like to thank Francis from Mass Housing, because without her, none of this would have happened. We all know that. And everybody who's been involved with the project. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing what you present on the 9th.
Well, we appreciate all of your help and support as well as the town. It's been great. So we're looking forward to moving this forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, we don't have, let's see, we do have Ken, I guess, still hanging around, do we?
Yeah, what's Ken doing here?
Well, Ken was here for that, but we also have the item right immediately below this one on the agenda to authorize the redevelopment authority to issue the master developer RFP, and I was thinking Ken might be helpful for that as well.
Ken took off as fast as could be.
Yeah, Ken get out of here.
Thought he was on vacation, so God bless.
I know. It's a heck of a vacation for him, right?
Yeah, good man.
Yeah, technology killed the vacation. All right, we'll just go back up to the top then. Licenses and permits, we've got stuff here. Judy.
If it's okay with you, I'm going to read them by category. Okay?
Yep.
All right, so the first one is I move the renewal of the following year-round retail packaged goods stores, all alcoholic beverages licenses for the year 2021 under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws. Number 1, ACAP Inc., DBA Wines and More, 2421 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. Number 2, AJ Food Corp., DBA Anchor Liquors, 2360 Cranberry Highway, West Wareham. Number 3, Heather Hill Holdings Corp., DBA Depot Liquors, 47 Depot Street, East Wareham. Number 4, Onset Village Market, Inc., DBA Onset Village Market, 231 Onset Avenue, Onset. Number 5, Pepin, Inc., DBA Pepin's Liquors, 2259 Cranberry Highway, West Wareham. Number 6, Rego and Sons, Inc., DBA 711, 3 Barker Road, East Wareham. And number 7, SRIOM LLC, DBA Mayflower Liquors, 3150 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham.
Okay, we have a motion.
Yeah, I made that as a motion. All of the paperwork has been double checked by me.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Alan. Any questions? Roll call vote. Alan.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Myself, yes. 500 for those.
Okay, the next one would be, I move the renewal of the following year-round common vic, all alcoholic beverages licenses for the year 2021 under the provisions of Chapter 138 of Massachusetts General Laws. Number 1, Al and L Corp., DBA Ella's Wood Burning Oven Restaurant, 3136 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham. Number 2, Bay Point Club LLC, DBA Bay Point Club, 10 Bay Point Drive, Onset. Number 3, GS Corporation, DBA Gateway Tavern, 371 Marion Road, Wareham. Number 4, Peerview Restaurant, Inc., DBA Stevens Lounge, 201 Onset Avenue, Onset. Number 5, Salerno's, Inc., DBA Salerno's Function Hall, 196 Onset Avenue, Onset. And number 6, Trova, Inc., DBA Bailey's Surf and Turf, 3056 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham.
Okay, we have a motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yep.
Jim.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Also 500.
I move the renewal of the following year-round common vic wines and malt beverages license for the year 2021 under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws. Mark Anthony's La Pizzeria Limited, DBA Mark Anthony's, 190 Onset Avenue, Onset.
Second.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500.
I move the renewal of the following year-round Veterans Club all alcoholic beverage license for the year 2021 under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws. Dudley L. Brown Post, number 2846 VFW of US Inc., 4 Gibbs Ballpark Road, Onset.
Second.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Alan? Yes.
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500.
I move the renewal of the following year-round in-holder all alcoholic beverages license for the year 2021 under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws. Glen Cove Hotel, LLC, DBA Glen Cove Hotel, 167 Onset Avenue, Onset.
Second.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500. That takes care of the licenses. We'll jump back to town business. COVID-19 update.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is as of Sunday. There were 17 new confirmed cases, plus 3 probable cases in the 3 days before Sunday. So it's still trending in higher.
Okay.
And I don't think we need to go through all the rest of the segments. It's just basically the same update week in, week out.
Yep, that's fine. Yes, I mean, if there's additional steps or measures that are being taken or there's information you need to get out there, this is the opportunity for that. But thank you for the update on the numbers. We'll jump down to the next item of interest, refuse update. And I don't know who wants to lead off here. Jim?
Nothing really to say. I think you got something the town administrator Sullivan sent out today. And as far as my part of working on the refuse, I'm pretty much done. The contracts are all, you voted to put them into Mr. Sullivan's hands and the our consultant. So he can bring you up to date on those. I think we signed our contracts, like I said, for the transfer station with Covanta, contract with the CMW. So I'll turn it over to Derek and you can hammer him.
Yeah. No. Like I said, when there's updates worth giving, I'll give them to you. So.
Okay, so you don't have anything in particular?
Yeah, I don't think this needs to be an agenda item anymore. We can just do it under the TA report if it's on me.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we're looking at the finish line, so I guess we can take it off. When we put it on here, we didn't even know if the finish line was going to be on this planet. So good work. I'd like to thank Selectman Manise for jumping into this. When he got on the board and attending the meetings and going through there and trying to figure out what the agreements meant, who they meant anything to, and to try to identify the pitfalls with trying to do this ourselves, and all the other work he's put in. So thank you very much for that effort. This was a significant issue.
And it's been very interesting, and it's been a learning experience.
That hopefully you will never have to put to practice elsewhere.
More tools in the bag.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, both of you. Jumping down, we'll go to item D. This is the discussion and vote to authorize the redevelopment authority to issue the master developer RFP for Tremont Nail Factory. I would remind everybody that this is one of the few pieces of town property where the selectmen actually have direct control, because the town meeting article that authorized the purchase and the motion that was passed specifically said that the property was going to be acquired and put under the control of the Board of Selectmen. And this board voted a couple of years ago to sort of put, if you will, operational control or some control in the hands of the redevelopment authority, in the hopes that businesses and people with plans could be enticed to go out there. But to undertake a major step such as issuing a master developer RFP. That's something that the redevelopment authority, I don't think, can do on its own. And this is why the redevelopment authority is here tonight to ask for this, for the vote of the board to go forward with this. Now, did everybody have an opportunity to take a look at what was sent out? I'll start with Patrick.
Okay, so, you know, this was not my favorite project from way back for a lot of reasons, as you well know. And I thought more of the buildings could use a match than anything else. But, you know, Alan wasn't willing to give me the match, so I guess we didn't have that.
No Jewish lightning, sorry.
No Jewish lightning. But I really appreciate what you guys have done with the property. There's a lot coming around. And this is the part of the property that I appreciate, because it's about time that somebody else and something else happens to this property so that it becomes what it needs to become. Really, I mean, right now it's been, you know, we've had it in our control. It's been sort of in your control. It's been here or there. It's been languishing all over the place. There's been no development plan as such, although we did finally get a cleanup plan. And you did a whole bunch of other things. We almost got to rent the building there for a while, which would have been a good thing. But in order for it to take the next step, I think this is the most important piece, is to get it out there and see what people think it could be developed into. And let's get this done.
Okay, thank you. Alan.
It's interesting. The buildings have sat, you know, idle for so many years now, except for the white office building, which of course with the mold issue, we've never been able to pull the trigger on. Last week, I got a call from one of our businesses on Cranberry Highway who has a bakery which manufactures, distributes, and retails bakery goods in New Bedford. And he actually wants to move his business to New Wareham as well. And I think he's got a hold of Ken. I'm not sure how this is going to work. He would prefer to buy the steel building, but he's very interested in doing something as well. So this, along with actually getting a master plan done, it really bodes well because things are changing. It's the first time someone has come up with a legitimate business that's not been, you know, marijuana based or this or that. To me, it'd be really nice to have a bakery sitting on right off Main Street with the smells coming up, which would be much more pleasant than marijuana weed.
Okay, thank you. Jim.
You're welcome.
I guess I'm a little in the dark on this. Can you explain to me what the RFP will entail and the cost structure? And it would be in the responsibility of the redevelopment authority, I believe, correct?
Well, it would be the responsibility of the redevelopment authority to vet the responses. I would never say that the redevelopment authority had the ability to enter into any agreements with these people. That would have to come back to this board because, once again, this board has the ultimate control over things. So really what's happening here is the RFP is something that would go out. The responses would come back. The redevelopment authority would go through them and then grade them and then make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. And the recommendation might well be that nothing came back that was particularly responsive enough that we wanted to go forward with. So it's fishing, basically, but the fish will be presented back to this board. It won't be eaten at the redevelopment authority.
Right. And any costs associated with this?
No, because I don't think it's. I mean, if you want to go back to the 2009 study when they talked about $10 million to bump the place up, I would think that anybody interested in a comprehensive redevelopment plan knows that they're going to have to sink a significant amount of money into this to make anything happen. The other thing that's important in the RFP is that it calls for responses to be essentially responsive to the vision plan that was put out back in 2017. That was a result of a lot of public input from the Board of Selectmen, the various boards in town, meetings all over the place, different stakeholders, and so on and so forth. So a responsive RFP from my perspective, and again, I'm only one vote there and I'm only one vote here, but a responsive RFP is going to hit, certainly of what was called for in that vision plan. That's just my own personal take on this.
Thank you.
Thanks. Judy?
No, I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't either. I've obviously been knee deep in this place for a while. So with that in mind, if somebody would like to make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion to authorize issuance of an RFP by Patrick, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you very much. 500. I'll let Ken know that, and he can get it out and get it posted. Thank you very much. Okay, going down the list, continued discussion and votes to recommend warrant articles for 2020 fall town meeting. I did notice that Derek sent something out by way of a capital plan, so maybe we want to take a look at that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have all received notification of them certifying free cash today in the amount of $4,180,163. That's a higher amount than we routinely see. One of the main reasons for that, if you remember, we stopped froze spending on the town side, and I know the school did some efforts too back around March. And additionally, we did not do any capital spending at that spring town meeting. We didn't take any free cash from that, so we rolled over a goodly sum, if you will. So, but we're still trending. We want to have that every year of at least 5% of our operating budget. You'd hope to be closer to 10. Some of our neighbors like Bourne are in the I think close to 8 digits, but we tend to use ours for the needs that we have. So there's just a couple items here. If you're looking, the first one of the article, that's the capital plan. So you'll see a front end loader for municipal maintenance in the amount of $285,000. And actually, if you don't mind, I want to take it sort of as a whole so we can explain to everybody, because when they hear 4.1 million, they're probably expecting that money will go extremely far. So I think it'd be well to really explain it. So
Yeah, why don't you break down that line?
yeah, so in what I sent you out in the spreadsheet, you'll see there's some things called TM, which is town meeting, and then some that are NA, which is no action. But first we have 4.18 million. And the first thing, my recommendation is that, which would be Article 2, is to transfer 1.2 million to the stabilization fund. If you remember, we supplemented this year's budget with 600,000 from the stabilization fund. So that will put 600,000 plus an additional 600 in there. We have about 3,122,000 in the stabilization fund. So that brings us up to 4.3 million. And if you were able to see the S&P rating today, one of the reasons we are getting the great interest rates is because of our stabilization fund. And just what we're seeing from the Commonwealth, specifically their action of potentially rating the rainy day fund, if you will, 1.35 billion out of the rainy day fund. That's only about 3.3 billion, I believe. We know that they did that this year just to level fund our state aid. We know they won't be able to do that year in, year out. So it's going to be good to have these funds, and this is going to sound crazy. I hope we never have to use it, but and that we just continue to use that for a better bond rating, get us up to that AAA rating. So the next item would be to transfer 200,000, and I'm really calling it the waste startup article. And that's a little concerned, make sure that we have enough fees as we start up, because we're going to have to collect revenue along the way. And we know that revenues can typically lag. So we do have currently in that revolving fund, from what we've been collecting from all of last year and this 6 months to the end of December this year, 251,000. So I'll give us about 451,000, which, if you remember, our total anticipated cost could be in the $2.5 million range. So that's about a fifth of our cost. I'd like to have a full quarter in there, but I think that'll get us going. So it'd be good to have those funds available. And again, hopefully we don't have to use those, but between the two of them, we'll be okay. And just so you understand, this will be its own article. We can't really transfer, you're not really transferring into the revolving account. So it's its own article. The next item is what we do annually, which is a transfer to the other post-employment benefits fund, or OPEB. We do that through the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. Our current balance is a $1,441,443. And our 5-year return is 7.98% on those funds, which has been good. Considering, just so people understand, the interest is so low on what we can put for other types of funds, such as a stabilization fund. Getting 7.98%, almost 8% on our OPEB is excellent. So after that, if you remember, we took unemployment out of the annual budget to help stabilize it. And we set 300,000 aside. With COVID, we have paid over 300,000, almost 328,000 in unemployment. A portion of that was reimbursable through the CARES Act. So all that hit the article was about 100. There's 180,000 so left in that article. So we are averaging, believe it or not, $40,000 a month in unemployment. So there's been some layoffs, but the majority is from the educational portion of the budget. So that's we have to make sure that we have enough funds. Yeah, after that, we would transfer to the school department. My recommendation is to transfer to the school department $500,000 as an article, and that's to be expended by the superintendent. And frankly, we don't know if they'll allow us to roll over any of the leftover money in the CARES Act. They're pretty strict on how you could spend it. Seeing what we're experiencing now at the beginning of December, I think that the school is going to continue to be in a tough situation. I know the superintendent is doing everything she can, and her staff, to make sure it's a safe environment. But when they have teachers go out or anything, you have to fill those up with substitutes and such. So I think this is a good use of money to make sure we stabilize them for at least the rest of this year. Then the next item is snow and ice hold of 450,000. We budget about 375,000 annually for snow and ice. In a bad year, you can hit over $1 million. So we always hold back funds just in case. It's knock on wood, it's 2020, so we know what to expect. Then the next amount is rolling over 750,000. I'd like to roll over more, but I think that makes for a good number. So all told, that was about 3.7 million, if you will, that disappears real quick. That left $480,163 for capital. The first item is that we're seeking is a front end loader. So we have two front end loaders with municipal maintenance. The newest one is a 2005, so almost 16 years old, with 8,700 hours on it. It's showing its age with rust and such things as windshield leaks, and we're spending more and more money on repairs to keep it going. Remember, we use those for a lot of the snow and ice operations as well, especially mixing from the snow, from the sand to salt. when we had the major windstorms. Those are the machines that go in to really move some of the equipment. They're a vital piece of machinery. And those were the only ones in that winter storm Nemo actually had the strength to push some of the snow along when it got that high. So our second loader is a 1990. So that has over 15,000 hours on it. You know, they usually have a 10,000 hour life expectancy. The machine is heavily rusted, will be going on 31 years old, and it's no longer safe and cost effective to keep in service. And as you know, the two loaders are a vital part of the operations at municipal maintenance. And the replacing the 1990 loader has been on the capital plan for quite some time. So that was a request from Mr. Menard. And if we fund that, that would be $285,000. That's off of the state bid list. That's to purchase and equip. And then we would also, it costs a little bit more with all the equipment, but we'd be seeking to basically scrap or turn in the 1990 to offset the difference. So that leaves us with $195,000. Then the next amount would be $50,000 towards the LED street lights. And if you remember, we've been doing that for a while, but we stopped that last year. And we kept on rolling them with the incentives that we were receiving, but we finally ran out of those. So we need to seek more funds, if you will. I think we've done close to 1,000 right now. I'll get an update on how much we've done, how many we've done. The leases on our electric vehicles have expired. I've worked with the superintendent, so this time we're going to do 4 vehicles, 3 for municipal maintenance, 1 for Wareham Public Schools. The total cost, believe it or not, because they're 3-year leases, and we will be getting, we've already been awarded $15,000 from the electric vehicle incentive program. We're going to seek a little bit more, but the total amount for the lease, putting on the some of the stickers, the excise tax that, believe it or not, we have to pay to the town has to pay to itself because they're leased. For all 4 vehicles, we're looking at about $24,500 on 3-year leases. And then we did build in a 6-month extension in those just in case. So that brings us to $120,663 left, for which Wareham PD is requesting that we purchase ballistic vests, tasers, some of their radio equipment upgrades, and then a 4-seater UTV. So they've been, as they do with some of their operations, those have been vital pieces, especially for from parades to protests, if you will. So after that, that leaves us with the large sum of $22,163. So.
Okay, questions on the board? Alan? Nope, okay. Patrick?
No.
Jim?
Just on the electric vehicle leases, that's $24,500 per year for the 4 years?
No, that's $24,500 for the 3 years of the 6-month extension.
Cheap.
Yeah, it is. That's why I was asking, 24.5, we're getting 4 vehicles for 3 years?
Yep. The big part of that is we're getting a $15,000 grant from the Commonwealth, and we're potentially getting an extra $5,000 with the 14th for a total of 20. I'm going to budget the full amount, not including that 5,000 just in case. So
we'll talk later. Just
Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, Judy?
I just would like to congratulate Mr. Sullivan and his financial team. This has been a very tough year all the way around. To maintain the bond rating that you did was absolutely outstanding. You have, in my opinion, been a skinflint, and it shows, because we now have some opportunity to spend money on things that we've not been able to spend money on before. I very much appreciate how hard you have worked to keep us stable. And I don't have any questions. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands how tough this would have been.
Thank you on behalf of the financial team and the, the employees. We appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Thank you.
Peter,
Yes.
just in keeping with the snow and ice deal, I just wanted to make a mention of that. In 2015, we had days like this through December. It was 60 degrees. It was beautiful. It was just perfect. And until January the 23rd, if anybody remembers, on January the 23rd, we got a big snowstorm. And it didn't stop until April. So if anybody's all excited about there not being any snow, hold on to that one, because January the 23rd, it went all the way through a good chunk of April that it snowed. I never got out of my truck. Every other day.
That does sort of, I was going to keep this towards for the TA report, but there is an alarming trend that we've seen from sort of the last 2 years of, not that much snow activity. There was ice activity, obviously, but a lot of the snow. We are down 26 out of our 60 plow drivers, so down 26 blades.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and we're unable to recruit, and we're missing some of our own positions and such. So,
you know what? People are some of the places are paying higher money, and a lot of the drivers got out of the business. A lot of people got rid of their plows and, hey, you know what, I'm all set with this, because they couldn't pay for what the damages and everything else for their trucks. They couldn't pay for it. So they got out.
Yeah, there's a couple of years they only got a couple $100 if they were lucky there.
If they were lucky.
So that's going to mean that there'll be prioritization of routes, the main drags and such, as we always do, but more so, and more than ever on a snowy day, especially some of the big ones, we're going to need the help from the residents to, when possible, keep off the roads. I know people have jobs that they have to go to, and there's other, but if at all possible, please stay at home, because once you grind that all down, it's a nightmare to get off the road. So
I've been looking for a new truck. There's $70,000 to $80,000. I paid like less than $40,000 for my first house. I can buy 2 houses for a truck.
No,
it just shows I'm old, I guess.
So thank you. So I mean, when we those would really be Article 1 and 2.
Yeah, I would ask for a motion to recommend both Articles 1 and 2.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yep.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay, so 1 and 2 are both 500 to recommend. Okay, what about the unpaid bills? Do you have anything on that?
So I'll just go down in order if that works for you. So,
Yeah, that would help.
next item, prior to your bills, I move that we're going to pass over the article. We don't have any at this moment.
Okay, so no recommendation needed.
The PEG access receipts to Wareham Community TV. It's a little bit different this year. There's one item potentially outstanding. So this is how the motion would read. I move that the town vote to transfer $124,983.65 and an additional $61,024.92 upon approved contract amendment from the PEG access receipts reserved for appropriation account to Wareham Community TV. I just want to work on that to make sure that almost 125 is sort of automatic. I think that 61 is just an outstanding item that needs to be resolved through a contract, so we can get that over to them.
Yep. That's fine. Well, we should vote to recommend that at this point.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Okay, motion to recommend by Alan, seconded by Judy. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yep.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay, 500 on Article 7. What else do you have for us?
Article 5, we're having a meeting tomorrow, so let's hold off on that. Article 6 and 7, I think you've already taken action, but we'll be passing over those. Article 8's pass over, Article 9. Article 10, I think you've handled did you vote the transfer of the Deacon School?
Yes.
Yes.
We did it. We can do it again if you want.
There's 500 here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mess with the 500.
No, I suggest you stick with that.
The McGinney-Vento funds, that was the transfer of $23,434. I thought you put.
We voted on it.
1-0.
Yeah.
We voted on it. Yeah, it was 4. I think Alan voted against it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
Every year.
I think you voted the harbor service permits.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
we did both the Harbor Masters articles.
Okay. Yep. That's the so let's just make sure we go on. 15's pass. 16, I think that's the Tremont Nail, and that's just, I mean, basically that's all been approved. It's just taking the action of transferring the money to pay for that.
Yeah, that's for the environmental cleanup. That's their annual bill for that.
Yeah.
We
You vote on
voted
that?
on that.
You haven't voted on that?
No, we did
No.
500.
Okay.
Yeah, we did for the allocation one too, right?
And then the WPCF use of state revolving funds. I know you put it on there. And I know there's some
500.
kind of- So. And I think that's established solid waste and recycling fee. That's the bylaw. So Rich, I know that we started tweaking that a little bit more today. So maybe we can zip that out to you before the week's end. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I think the bylaw is pretty much done. We just need to figure out where in the bylaws we're going to put it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And then the solid waste and recycling revolving account was as printed in the warrant.
Voted on that.
Yeah. So I think those would be all the items.
Okay. Well, then I guess we're good. Thank you for your work on that. Let's see, does anybody have any 48-hour business? Alan?
No.
Patrick?
No.
Jim?
No.
Judy?
No, thank you.
I don't have any either. Okay, your report, Derek?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I sent you out earlier. There was a, just trying to pull it up, the,
Local rapid recovery.
yeah, the local rapid recovery, just trying to figure out where the board might have some interest in looking at what items you think would be worthwhile, if you will.
I think some of the areas, Derek, that they talk about, this is, so everybody understands, it's not funds they give us. This is a technical assistance program. Everybody thinks it's funds, but there's no funds. But what it is they'll help us figure out what to do going future for our local businesses that have been affected by COVID. And it gives us the ability to possibly, permanently have outdoor dining and other things like that. And also to turn around and maybe look at different areas in town that have been hit hard by COVID as businesses and come up with plans to help them out. And they're going to offer us technical assistance through consultants, et cetera, to come up with viable plans. I believe we have to have the program, whatever we want, has to be submitted by December 18th, Derek.
Yeah, so it's popping up pretty quickly.
It's
And
very
there's,
quick.
one of these, I think for the, one of the that Shared Streets Winter Project, we might try and, I was talking to Mr. Menard, we might try, because it's up to 300,000. We thought that would be a great project for the Onset Park that we started originally doing through the CDBG funds, but those funds haven't been expended yet. So we can leapfrog that and use the shared streets on this. So maybe we can use more of the CDBG funds towards the sidewalks and stuff in Onset. But this one, I think, I think Main Street Wareham is really, what I would say we'd be looking at for some of the either the marketing or public realm investments. So it's
They also offer us the ability to offer, signage and, storefront on Main Street, et cetera. Maybe we look at also the possibility of some of the buildings having work on the backside facing the water, which is our long-term goal for that area.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Some of the things that we sort of miss that you see in other main streets that can be really helpful too, especially weather related, are some of the awnings and stuff coming out that you see that can be attractive. I know that's there's some that are out there, but they no longer work that would retract and go out. It's depending on whether you're north or south side facing as to whether you really want the awnings and such. But
Do they have bump out removal in there?
Sure.
The first job of that $285,000 loader, I asked?
Yeah, exactly.
That's, this is all for planning, like you said, right?
yeah, it's not an actual, there's no money for the infrastructure. It's just the planning, technical assistance and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with what you said and Selectman Slavin in the sense of seeing we're focusing on that area and trying to make improvements to attract both investment and people to come visit. Whatever we can get for assistance to give us some guidance in what might be our best directions to take, which from people who are not mainly investors. But I think that would be a good way to look at it.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Patrick, Judy, thoughts?
I like the marketing, aiding in the marketing and creating a plan that enables some kind of rejuvenation of the Main Streets properties.
Thanks. Patrick?
No, I'm okay. I think, this takes a little more work than just kind of talk off the talk from looking at it from last night. I'll probably come up with some things as I think about it more. I only read it just earlier today. So as time goes on, I might have something to say, and I'll just call Derek and tell him what I think.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anything else? The TA report?
I sent you out earlier and we talked about it briefly. We did have a call with S&P Global, and they reaffirmed our bond rating at AA+, which is the highest in the town's history. So it's we talked about the finance team, but I want to thank the Board of Selectmen Finance Committee and all those that have worked, because it's without you going along with some of the plans, it doesn't work. So we really appreciate all your support.
Yeah, I'd also like to thank town meeting as well, because, we can sit here and you can plan and we can say that's a great plan and, but ultimately town meeting decides what happens with the money, where it goes, whether to save or whether to be spendthrifts. And, for the most part, they've gone along with us and followed the recommendations you've made. And it's gotten us into a pretty good place financially, in comparison to where we were, say, 10 years ago. So I appreciate all the work of town meeting as well.
Yeah, that's Mr. Chairman, that's a fantastic point, and I'm sorry I didn't bring that up, because it's we have a lot of residents that want some are looking for some more things, some more attractions and such. So they're going along with the plan. Is really it's been tremendous. So
thank you. Let's see.
Can I ask just a quick question?
Hmm?
For some reason I was going through, this is the town administrator. I was going through some emails, and the round 2 of mini entitlement, has that already gone past?
for us, for the we're a mini entitlement community. So you're saying round 2 of the CARES Act stuff, or?
Right, having to do with that, where we'd be entitled to it, or are we not entitled because we're under Plymouth County? Are these separate things?
Yeah, let me just double check which one it is, Jim, and I can get back to you on it, because
Shaking his head. I don't know. Maybe it was in my mail and I had missed it and I just read it, but I went and looked at it again, and it kind of goes along with some of what we were just discussing related to the local rapid recovery. It would be separate, but similar theme, so you could kind of piggyback on it. So, Mr. Slavin, can you enlighten me?
That was, Jim, that's from the state, where the state controls their portion of the CARES Act. Plymouth County is separate. So all that was is the second round of CARES Act through the state. Plymouth County is doing their own.
So we don't have any.
We're not part of it. We're not part of that.
Sorry, guys.
yeah, that's one of the things we're going to have to ask for, and really pile on Selectman Slavin's shoulders for when he goes up, talks to Boston there, is that this, they made it, except for a few instances where some communities basically had no computers for their students. We were lucky that we'd had a proactive school department working on a one-to-one basis with technology, that we didn't have to expend all that. And I think was that Marshfield or something was the one that really hit all their COVID money. There's still a good amount out there, because there was some severe limitations, and still some things we bought, they come back and they're questioning. Luckily, we haven't had anything turned down. So why I say luckily is if they turn it down, you had to have already purchased it and paid for it, and then they would decide whether it was reimbursable or not. So,
and Plymouth County doesn't have a round 2, right?
Yeah. So, well, there's 3 rounds altogether. Actually, there was we submitted for round 2. It's just when you submit your reimbursement request, and we're going into the 3rd and finalizing now.
Okay.
We're trying to hit a few different items at the end. And I'm really hoping that they will, given what we're seeing, even though the vaccines are on the horizon, there's still a lot of costs, and how we're going to disperse those vaccines. And it's going to be at a municipal level. People need to understand that it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of setup, and a lot of cost. So
interesting. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Anything else, Derek?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll go down to liaison reports. Alan.
Okay, we had my local government advisory council meeting with the lieutenant governor and governor today. They gave us advanced information. I sent it off to everybody. Should have had it this afternoon. Just as a quick note for the public, our hospitals are now at 65% capacity. Our ICUs are at 50%. So I'm hoping, and so is the state, that this will level off, because if it gets much higher, it's going to be a problem for people who want elective surgeries, et cetera. The transportation travel industry in general, we're basically looking at travel is down as much as 70% in certain areas. Air travel is down over 60%. The CARES Act fund money, they've decided to offer, and I got a hold of the Department of Public Health and our own department. They're going to allow the municipalities to set up their own testing facilities and use CARES Act money for this. And the reason being is that when everybody went away for Thanksgiving and came back, everybody has to get tested. So they're basically making it so difficult, even for our own employees, to get tested in a timely fashion, because if you're not tested, you got to stay away for 10 days. They dropped it back from 14 today. If you get tested and stuff, it's 7 days. So the Department of Public Health, ours anyways, can set up a tent or can set up 3 different options of how to do testing ourselves. We don't have to go to the state facilities. That came up today as an approved area. The other stuff, of course, Derek already talked about the Local Recovery Act for businesses. We have to basically, as a town, we have to submit our plans for the vaccine for Friday, because the state has to submit theirs to the federal government on Friday as what plans they're going to do, so they know how to distribute the vaccine to each state. And the last thing I want to talk about really is, and very quickly, The Cannabis Control Commission never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, isn't that
Yesterday,
the-
yesterday they went and voted to
Jeez.
set up a whole new business, for cannabis. They now are going to allow the manufacturers to take their own stock and sell it directly to the customer and deliver it to them. So even though we have 3 retail outlets in Wareham, if there's basically, say, 5 manufacturers in Wareham, we're going to have 8. So I'm not sure how the host agreement is going to work. I don't know how the money's going to work. I've got some couple calls in today after I heard about it last night to find out how this is all going to go down, whether we have to have additional host agreements, whatever. But it was passed by the Cannabis Control Commission. They have the authority to do it. And the retailers that have their own association have already made a basic statement. They're going to sue the state. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, member of the boards, that is a huge issue because just to let you know, we've got some of the retailers and such are sticking to that 3% impact fee that you have to explain it, you have to back it up, and that's in the legislation. So that means that with that sort of format, now where we were essentially getting 6% out of retail, you could be getting 0.1% out of the manufacturing retail sales. So it is a drastic, potential drastic loss to the town.
Yeah,
It is.
shouldn't we write a letter? Shouldn't we write a letter to them and tell them that we don't think this is a good idea?
I think I've already done it today.
But but we should do it formally. I mean, as a board. I mean, this is a huge issue. When I saw this, I was mortified because basically now they're going to. Go ahead, Alan.
Mass Municipal Association is actually going ahead as a group for all 351 communities, expressing their dismay. Because the other problem I'm concerned about is that 3% impact fee.
Mm-hmm.
This gives them the retailers not to pay it anymore, or ask the state to eliminate it.
Here's what
So they don't have to renew for the retailers as well.
I'm gonna put this on the agenda for next week, just as sort of a policy discussion. What is it that we want? What is it that we think is fair? Do we need to have ask the legislature to just do away with this, silly game that they've set up where you get this 3% impact fee on top of your 3% tax, but then you got to justify it. And how do you do that? And it's all this nebulous criteria that either side could fight about, frankly, because it's just so lackadaisically written. And just get rid of all this folderol and just allow the towns where there are retail licenses to get a 5% tax and just be done with it.
That's right.
And and the same for anybody selling marijuana in the town. If a retail shop is selling it and getting 5% for us, great. But if a manufacturer is selling directly to people in our town, we should get a 5% take on that as well. It's when you sell directly to a consumer, you're a retail operation. I don't care if you're a wholesaler or not.
Yeah.
So once again, they've made a hash out of this, and my pun is intended.
Yeah, as I said, they basically have taken and added a whole nother business into the 3 original businesses. So I'm already working on it. I'll see what I can do. We've been lobbying for a straight 6%, with dropping the impact fee and just going straight 6. So we'll see where we go with it.
So
but either way, it was very disappointing today.
Let me just ask him some clarification here. So if a wholesaler is going to be allowed to sell retail, why wouldn't we tax at the 3% level that we're allowed to as a town on any retail sales?
I'm trying to find out, Jim, whether or not we have our regular fee that we directly program as well now. And I'm trying to find out whether or not they have to come back for a new host agreement or not. Because it's actually a separate new business now.
No, I agree. And but minimally I would think it would be the sales tax portion of it, and the impact would have to be negotiated. Sales tax, I would think, would just be automatic, but that's just.
Yeah, I think this is going to bypass the impact fee. I can tell you right now.
Well, that's kind of like Derek was
Let's
saying.
see. I'll try and get more information for next week's meeting.
Yeah.
So I give you a better deal.
It's proved to be interesting.
It's not going to be fun.
I'll
I
get
think
I'll
I'd
get it
be-
on the agenda so we can figure out what it is, what our position is and, to whom we need to articulate it at this point. So I'll put it on the agenda for next week.
All right, I'll
Yeah, and I
get you as
think
much
that
as I can. Wait, Peter.
Yep, thank you.
Last thing I had is the planning board, yesterday, the planning board met to do their public hearing on the zoning article. Discussions were interesting. I think come a special town meeting, the discussions will be quite lively. It probably be nice to sit back, see what the discussions were on both. It was interesting tonight. And a long one. I think it was 3 hours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Patrick,
Yeah, I know, I'm all set.
Jim,
It's already long.
I'll just piggyback on what Alan just said. The planning board hearing was last night, continued to next week. Went 3 hours, they stopped the conversation. There was probably 35, 40 people on the Zoom meeting. It was interesting. A lot of good discussion. And we have a affordable housing trust meeting next week. And besides that, that's it from me here.
thank you. Judy?
No, nothing.
Yep, I don't have anything by way of a liaison and initiative report. Probably should have said this during announcements. We know certainly at the national level and also at the state level, we've had a rise in COVID cases. It's going to be interesting to see what this past weekend caused. This is the biggest travel weekend of the year, and even though travel was down, there was still a lot of people traveling. Many people ignored the CDC's recommendation to just have Thanksgiving with your usual family unit. And I would just ask everybody, please be careful. I think in a week's time or so, we're going to see what the fruits of all this travel was in this country, and it's not going to be good. We have another opportunity to spread the disease, at record levels coming up with Christmas and Hanukkah, and that whole time off, and people travel and so on and so forth. So, nobody. This isn't a society where we dictate where people go. It just doesn't happen. We're not Wuhan, where the Red Army could come, stick a bayonet under your throat and ask you what the hell you were doing out in February over there, because that's how they got control of it. They militarized their cities, and they literally made people stay inside. Our society isn't set up the same way. It's based upon individual rights, but with those rights come with responsibilities. And so I would ask everybody to try to do the responsible thing. It stinks, having to have a Zoom Christmas, but it's better than having January burials. So please, everybody be careful.
Nicely put.
I guess we don't have any bills or anything to sign, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Alan, seconded by Judy. Roll call vote. And thank you, Wareham. Another long, but I think productive meeting. Alan?
Yes, and again, please, everybody be safe.
Patrick?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Good night, Wareham. Thank you. See you next week.
See you later.